Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I got a good question from a friend who is asking how anarcho capitalism, non-anarchism, in other words, having free marketism without a government, fixes the over 1 billion people starving in the world. And this is a great question because it's one of those issues that's, one of those heartstring issues. People are like, oh no, like, what about the children and the people starving? And the thing is that there actually is a market solution for getting everybody in the world to have access to clean water and plentiful food. And a big part of that is opening up those channels of markets that are in those other countries. A big reason why these people don't have anything is because those governments of those areas plunder the people's natural resources. For example, through the IMF and World Bank, they do these giant loans where they intentionally call them back in to get ownership stakes in the natural resources that is contracting with the government officials, so that the people who are there are in constant turmoil. They don't own anything. They have no incentives to produce. And there's actually a little bit of Freakonomics in here too, where simply giving people stuff. Uh, for example, when Tom's gives shoes to those who are in need, has unintended consequences. You can't just simply give people food and be like, oh, what about hunger and the next meal and this and that. Well, the thing is these are issues that don't abate. You're always going to be hungry, you're always going to be thirsty. So the question is how do you have a consistent access to these things? And that comes with ownership and the ability to trade. And we already see a lot of these issues being solved uh, through um, through new types of technology that have emerged. I think one that really sticks out to me is the technology that Sawyer uses. They actually use blood dialysis technology, and they have donated tons of their technology around the world, especially to help out with those who have been affected by major hurricanes, other types of natural disasters, for example, the Philippines. And these types of low-cost technology that really cost like almost nothing, they're monopolized through the patent office. And when you have the government monopolizing all these technologies through the patent office, it does eventually keep out people from being able to use these things to better themselves. And that really is the ultimate solution at the end of the day, is when you have people who have a stake in their land, who have a stake in real property, can trade and can better themselves, you suddenly have incentives for people to deal with each other. And then beyond that, people are like, oh, well, people are just going to be callous, and they're going to steal, and they're not going to want to deal with them, and they're just like, oh, poor people, you have nothing to offer me, which clearly isn't true because, as you see, there's such things as minimum wage workers or people at the bottom rung, and people who come from Mexico to work, and they're the lowest skilled people, but they still do something. I mean, there's always something to do. But beyond that, there is also the incentive that is very real for people to have feel good actions. There is a selfish tendency in people that is observable, testable, repeatable when it comes to doing things because of a good feeling. They help out with somebody, they donate, or they work with someone to educate them about bringing themselves up because it makes them feel good. And I think that you can see a lot of these amazing things from TED Talks to MIT OpenCourseWare to Samuel Kahn and Khan Academy. Billions of people across the world have seen this. These type of math videos, this type of decentralization of information and then privatization allows people to have the knowledge to be able to better their environment, because that requires working with the ground and the resources that they have. And getting these things there has been hamstrung by those governments, and they have been hamstrung by the competing factions who are trying to get control of the governments. And there isn't, there really isn't this crazy, everybody wants to, kill each other mentality with every single person who are in these poor regions. There's tons of commerce that goes on over there. I'm just a little bit more familiar with it because I deal with a lot of international trade and a lot of international sales. I work with people who actually are on the ground in these places, and the stories they have is just incredible. And actually, you can see a little bit of that even in some of the African countries that you'd think, wow, there's people there who are reading this type of economic thinking and stuff. I mean, you can look through Students for Liberty's outreach and actually see that there are educational camps that are going out there and helping people become entrepreneurs, helping people to think about how to take what they own and turn it into something better and provide value for their people. And in turn, that improves their lives, because when people have efficiencies that they trade each other, transactional efficiencies, it begins to build prosperity. You know, when someone can do something really well, the other person can do something really well, and they work together or they trade together. You know, I'm able to get fish really well. You're able to get plants really well. Let's trade. That starts to build up, and you see wealth grow up organically, and that's how people who are poor, people who don't have access to food or or clean water, they are being suffocated because of the regulatory environments, because of the barriers that are put there by those who are in power, who are using governmental power, or they're stealing, UN aid. You know, when the UN sends over food and then it gets taken up by whatever rebel faction, they go and they sell it, or they deal it for drugs, or whatever. That's just what's happening. You know, it's a big government mess, and of course a little bit of sprinkled on top that white imperialism. So that's really how anarcho capitalism solves all these problems. And it's not that anarcho capitalism is a philosophy that seeks to solve these things. It's not. It's let people solve them because naturally it's shown in human nature that people actually want to live better lives. And it comes with an evolution of ethics. People evolving intellectually and ethically as they begin to understand and have better transactions and agreements through that process of transaction. That is how things get better. When you have an intervention into ethical philosophy that mandates that you believe something, there's a stunted growth. That's what government does when you have education in its systems. It replaces opportunity for critical thought and moving above and beyond those systems. And that type of stunted growth has kept a lot of resources from people who are definitely starving, and it is very sad. There's tons a major economic blackball that goes on, especially when we're talking about wars and sanctions. And that's another unseen cost that a lot of people miss out when they're like, oh, that country is oppressing its people. Let's do an economic blockade, and that will really give it to them. It's like you just did something that's going to destroy the innocent people there because you're cutting them off from supplies for food and water and other types of trade. And that's just it. The more you go in there and you start opening up the trade across the globe, the more opportunities there are that literally every person at every level of every intelligence can find something to work with. And even those who are really truly incapacitated, if they have a mental disability, if they're truly Down syndrome, or they have something that doesn't work, that's okay, because the efficiencies give so much in bounty that those people can be helped. And yes, there are associations and foundations that specifically deal with helping those who are in need, who have those types of special needs that might need special types of facilities or special types of apparatus in order to survive. There is a market demand for even those things, and even the smallest of the population can find satisfaction in meeting those needs. It's not beyond human ingenuity. It's just been proven time and time again that people, when they see that there's a need, when they see or feel compassion for something, that it can happen. And I think we've especially seen that with 3D printing of late. The amount of amazing prosthetics that are being created, arms and legs, and even for animals. You think of the dolphin that was had a prosthetic 3D printed for itself. That was over in Clearwater. I mean, it really is limitless once you open up the information. So I hope that helps. I know I was long-winded, but that's really the core of it, is that liberty promotes prosperity through freeing up trade and understanding. And it does work all the way from the ground up, because people have incentive, because they have respect over their bodies, and they have respect over what they're living on. You take that away, you make people live on a neo-feudal land, with taxes. They're always going to be at a dollar short and a day late. Eventually, hard times come up. I can't pay my bills, to the government. Oh, they take your house. Oh, I can't pay my insurance, and that's all these people are going to court all the time. America's got 25% of the world's prison population. I mean, it's going to keep going that way because people just can't afford to live under this regime. All right, take care.